So we enter the last chapter of the Sermon, Mount Sermon, so-called, which people seem to be particularly bored of or bored with. Started out in chapter 5 in Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. He's characterizing the people that are blessed and then giving them instructions later on based on that. Blessed are those who mourn. It's a serious, Christianity is a serious religion. It's made light of, and people speak like Jesus was a curse or that he has malintent. But he starts out by saying, blessed are the poor, those who mourn, the gentle, those who hunger. There's some children playing outside screaming. The merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. Merciful, pure peacemakers, and persecuted builds up through Matthew 5. And then when you're being really insulted and persecuted, that you are blessed. So we went through that, and this seems to be something, that people don't really want to go through. I'm going through this too slowly, and there's not enough pretty colors. Okay. You are the salt of the earth. And he said, first thing, you should obey the law and the prophets. Chapter 5, verse 17. Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Until heaven and earth pass away. It goes on. For I say to you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So he was saying that the scribes and the Pharisees will say, you shall not commit murder, but whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court. Okay. Then it talks about anger and it criticizing immediately the Pharisees. Goes on, and it tells you, don't look at other people and try to impress them. Don't be a hypocrite by praying in front of other people. Chapter 6 of Matthew. Beware of practicing, chapter 6, verse 1. Beware of practicing your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. Otherwise, you will have no reward with your Father who is in heaven. So don't try to look good on YouTube. Don't try to insult other people. That's Matthew 5, because they're doing the right thing. If you don't understand, that's understandable. If you make a mistake, that's understandable. If you have a lifestyle that is perverse and claim to be a Christian, that's understandable as hypocrisy. Do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. See, if you're being a hypocrite and you're judging other people, and Jesus talks about the hypocrites, I believe that's Matthew 22, the Pharisees and the hypocrites. Oh, actually, let's see, Matthew 23, I get them confused. And Matthew 24 goes on to the quote-unquote end of the world. Scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves in the chair of Moses. Therefore all they tell you do and observe, but do not do according to their deeds, for they say and do not do. They tie up heavy burdens and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are unwilling to move them with a finger. But they do all their deeds to be noticed by men, for they broaden their phylacteries and lengthen the tassels of their garments, and you can see that on YouTube. If you don't see it, you're blind in some respect. Do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. So I've had a little thing on here with a fellow YouTuber, another YouTuber, and probably several YouTubers. And the curses and the hatred keep on coming, even though Jesus says don't do it, and he says do not judge, for so you will not be judged. For in the same way you judge, the same measure, which we're getting to in the next verse, or actually this is the second part of that verse, verse 2, chapter 7, Matthew. For in the way you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you, because God is fair. And you get people haranguing on how God is unfair, and hell and all this stuff is unfair punishment. God will judge justly, whether you understand what that means or you like justice. And people neither understand what it means nor do they like justice. It will be done to you as you have done to others. It's called fairness. People want to be free to do what they know is unjust, finding out what the right thing is to do, knowing there is right and wrong, and seeking to do what is unjust, yet wishing justice be done or wishing justice work out in their favor by being unjust. All it is simple accounting. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? It's saying you're judging again. You don't want to see what's wrong with you. How can you not see what's wrong with you? It says, you do not notice, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye. How can you not see that? It blocks you from seeing, and that should be more noticeable than you noticing a speck in your brother's eye. You don't see because you have a log, but you do see the speck, supposedly, in your brother's eye. Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet, and turn and tear you to pieces. He's saying the hypocrites are like this. If you give them what is holy and throw your pearls before them, they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces, because they're judging just like the Pharisees, just like the hypocrites. Looking at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye. The hypocrites will turn and tear you to pieces. So, when you see people that are not living a godly life, and when I say not living a godly life, in as much as you can see their lives on YouTube or wherever, and Jesus says, you hypocrite, which is not wrong to say that. What is wrong is to do that, and at the same time turn around and expect that the measure will not be measured to them because they've covered themselves over with their hypocrisy, that what they do will not come upon them. That is what the court systems are for. That is what God's justice is for. And Paul described one time, he asked them, he said, do you have contempt for the fact that God is merciful? So, thank you.